tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Hi, Amber. I knew somebody was. It said one person. I just kind of knew it was you, huh? Free falling. Yeah, listen to. How am I forgetting his name? Shut up, Kitty. I'm trying to remember her name. Free balling. Well, I'm free. Tom Petty. There we go. I just figured I'd keep singing until I remembered what it was. All right. Speaking of singing, when was the last time anybody saw Heather? I'm going to reach out to her, make sure she's okay. Of course, my concept of time sucks. I probably saw her 2 days ago and just don't remember. So I do my best to try and keep track of people and everything going on. I usually do, but it may sound like I'm not listening, but I am. Oh, you're listening to The Mountain, 99.5 The Mountain. You know, I love about radio stations how they'll have a commercial about how they're currently playing a no commercial set. It's like that is a commercial. You telling me that there's no commercials is a commercial. Yes, maybe it's more of an announcement, huh? Yeah. So we're gonna delve in 12 by 12 today. We're in cover step 12. Someone wants to send you a message on Messenger. Uh-oh. When it comes like that, it's from Vargas. You already know that it's bullshit. Let's go see what it is. Probably some group. Join my Room Full of Love 5630. All right. I'm going to leave that group. Oh, hello, guys. I'm blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we're going to leave that. Why do they let people... I didn't join any of these groups, so I don't know where that shit comes from. All right. Hopefully you don't get car sick today. Why? Because you're in Scott's truck. Does just not have many bouncy to it. So step 12 in the 12 by 12 is fairly long. We're not going to be covering all of it. If you'd like to hear the whole thing, you can listen to the 12 by 12 series. It's got the steps and the traditions, trudgingtogether.org. So if you want to hear the whole thing, I think I split it into 2 parts, but put it together. So we're actually going to start on page 110, I think, and I'm probably going to kind of skip through this. Maybe what we'll do is we'll get to 110, but let's start on 106. So let's start there. Oh, I get that. Yeah, I understand that. I get like that too. Welcome to Daily Trudge, Dion, dude, father of AA. If you're here, please say hello, whether you're watching the live or the rewatch. Amber says, yeah, if I'm not driving, I'm fucked. Doesn't matter what the vehicle. Can't look at my home either. We're stopped right now. So step-by-step directions here. I got some Zofran here if you need it. Have you tried like Dramamine or something like that? Might make you a little too tired though. So, all right. So step 12, having had means it's happened. Okay. Now, don't take that as a requirement to work step 12. You do not need to have a spiritual awakening yet in order to work step 12. That's not what it's saying. It's saying, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, We tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. You can still do the best that you can on it. Okay. I like the way Amber kind of describes it, that her sponsor's like, you can do service work year to week. Well, what can I do? Well, you know how to get to meetings. You know how they work. You know where you can get a big book. You know where you can get a 12 by 12. You can lead them to the Everything AA app. So, see, you can start step 12 really at any point. You don't even realize it, but the first time you go to a meeting as a newcomer, while you're sitting there shaking and sweating and detoxing, you are actually 12th stepping people. You are. You're reminding them of certain things. You remind them of how they used to be. Yeah. Not something I would say in a meeting. Not big on that one. Okay. But even then, you are doing 12-step work. You just don't know it. That's okay. All right. All right. So the joy of living is the theme of AA's 12-step, and action is the key word. You know, my daughter called me a few weeks ago. She had sent me this big long explanation about how she wasn't going to hit as many meetings. She thought she was going to get in trouble with me. That's not what happened. No. I called her. It's just I prefer phone calls over texting, especially if it's long-winded and there's a lot to say, right? But it's this right here. Joy is the living of it. Joy of living is a thing. She's like, well, you know, it's I can't really get to the gym. There's other things I need to get done. I need to clean the basement, and I really want to spend more time with the kids. And I told her, what is the point in being sober if we don't get to do those things? What would be the point? Right? So, all right. Do we like 90 and 90? Do we like, yeah. But number one, it's my daughter. Number two, she's my daughter, and I ain't going to tell her how to work her program. Since she came in, I have not given her one suggestion. It's not for me to do. What I get to do is this next part right here. Here we turn outward toward our fellow alcoholics who are still in distress. Here we experience the kind of giving that asks no reward. Here we begin to practice all 12 steps of the program in our daily lives so that we and those about us may find emotional sobriety. When the 12th step is seen in its full implication, it is really talking about the kind of love that has no price tag on it. So what do I get to do? I get to sit back and enjoy watching her life get better. And what a joy. There we go. The joy of living. She's going to chair a meeting today. When I started the grassroots meeting, it never ever crossed my mind in a million fucking years that one day I would go to the meeting and my daughter would be chairing it. Miracles happen in this program every fucking day. Every day. Yeah. Our 12th step also says that as a result of practicing all steps, we have each found something called a spiritual awakening. To each new AAs, this often seems like a very dubious and improbable state of affairs. What do you mean when you're talking about a spiritual awakening? What it really comes down to is this: you're going to see life differently. That's the big one. You're just going to see life differently. You've got a new set of stuff, man. You got a new set of morals and ethics. You know, you're thinking of other people, right? So the spiritual awakening is, well, let's see what it says here, because what I'm going to say about it might be different than what you experienced. And it's going to say it there. So there's many definitions of a spiritual awakening as there are people who have had them. All right. You will hear me say a lot that having a higher power is the most personal thing in the world. It is extremely personal. If it wasn't, then how could we have as many Otherwise, we'd all experience the same spiritual awakening. Right? It has to do with perception. It has to do with needs. It has to do with your personality type. There's a lot of variables there. We are not terminally unique, but we are beautifully unique. Everybody's got their stuff, right? So, but certainly each genuine one has something in common with all the others. And these things which they have in common are not too hard to understand. When a man or woman has a spiritual awakening, the most important meaning of it is that he has now become able to feel and believe, which he could not do before on his unaided strength and resources alone. Right? It's one of the 9-step promises. You suddenly realize that God is doing for you what you could not do for yourself. Right? He has been granted a gift which amounts to a new state of consciousness and being. Your thought process is different now. It's been replaced by something much healthier than our own thought process. Okay? Do I still use my thought process? Sure. Do I rely on it? No. Really? No. By this time, we should be used to asking God for guidance. We should be kind of used to going to meetings and listening to others for the answers that we ask God in our meditation or in our prayer. He has been set on a path which tells him he is really going somewhere, that life is not a dead end, not something to be endured or mastered. Yeah, we don't have to endure it. And we don't have to master life today. All right. These are the little, see, it was a bunch of little things that was killing us that turned into one big thing. Right? It's the little things that kill. It's also the little things that build. So pick your poison there. Which way do you want to go with this? Because you have the choice of both. Hey Michelle, good afternoon. Good to see you. Gosh, it's like I saw you like an hour ago. And Amber, huh? Yeah. It's just like it's our day today, huh? In a very real sense, he has been transformed because he has laid hold of a source of strength which, in one way or another, he had hitherto denied himself. I denied it from me. Nobody else did that. Nobody is capable of standing in the sunlight of my spirit. It's not possible. I'm the only one that keeps me from that. He finds himself in a possession of a degree. A degree. What does that mean? It just means we're not perfect. But we do have a degree of it. Before I didn't, let's name them up. Degree of honesty, tolerance, unselfishness, peace of mind, and a love of which he had thought himself quite incapable. Not just incapable, but worthy of. Right? It's really, that seems to be the harder part. We tend to think we are not worthy of God's love. We think we are not worthy of other people's loves. We tend to think that love needs to be earned. No, that is not. Love is not earned. Not in this sense. Maybe if you're in a relationship, things like that, yeah. Okay. We're talking about an appropriate love here, not a man, woman, marriage, relationships, things like that, right? What he has received is a free gift, and yet usually in some small part, he has made himself ready to receive it. And that's what we're doing. 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 That's what These steps get us to a point to where we are ready to receive it. See, we weren't ready to receive that love because we didn't understand it. Now that we've admitted our faults, gone back and made restitution, done a lot of these things, we've made ourselves ready to receive it. Yeah. It'll be like a 2x4 smacking you upside the back of the fucking head. Nicely. It's a sudden, for me, that's what it was. It was sudden at that point, but it took me years to receive it. It was of the educational variety. But even then, there are times when I just suddenly change. It's weird. It's a weird feeling. It's been a while where everything that I've been working on, talking about, the suggestions that I've been given, all of a sudden one day just fall into place. That's the miracle of it. One day you just realize it. Oh, fuck. Because I have to get myself to a point of simplicity. Nah. And we alcoholics don't do things simply, do we? Until we find out how much better it is. Simple makes it easier, not easy, but it certainly makes it easier. It helps me have a better attitude. Now we're going to go to page 110. Practically every AA member declares that no satisfaction has been deeper and no joy greater than in a 12-step job well done. To watch the eyes of men and women open with wonder as they move from darkness into lives, to see their lives quickly fill with new purpose and meaning, to see whole families reassembled. It's happening to me right now. People in the group are watching my family be reassembled right in the meeting. And I know people are getting a joy out of it because then they're like, oh, it does work. It does happen. Maybe my kids will talk to me again soon. Maybe I can have that relationship. I didn't think it was ever going to happen. Nope. But it did happen exactly the way it was supposed to. I'm guessing. A little bit of human will in there of a couple of alcoholics, you know. Right? It's more than that, though. Watching somebody reclaim their soul, it's hard to describe. I know I might be getting a little too religion-y here. But I believe that we all have a soul. I believe that I'm a spiritual being living a human life. Yeah, we're all aliens. We're spiritual beings, not originally from here. So aliens have already shown up. We're here. And I believe in aliens too. I don't like to think we are the only. I think that's small thinking. I think it's more of a hope. I don't have any real proof. Right? Maybe some foggy pictures like Bigfoot. Of all the equipment we have, we can never get a clear picture of Bigfoot. What's going on with that? Right? There's nothing like seeing somebody else get hope. Nothing like it. You stick around this program long enough, you go to meetings, you share in meetings, you share your experience, strength, and hope. One day, somebody will walk up to you and say, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 months ago, you said this in a meeting and it saved my life that day. What you said stopped me from drinking that day. Or even more, I don't know if this really happened. Hey. But we save people's lives. What are we saving them from? Suicide. This is a very lonely disease, right? To see the alcoholic outcast received back into his community in full citizenship, and above all, to watch these people awaken to the presence of a loving God in their lives. These things are the substance of what we receive as we carry AA's message to the next alcoholic. Nor is this the only kind of 12-step work. We sit in AA meetings and listen, not only to receive something ourselves, but to give the reassurance and support which our presence can bring. Just being there is, I don't want to say it's enough, but it's pretty darn close. Right? A lot of people don't like to go into meetings when they're smaller. I don't mind. Doesn't bother me. Not always. Some days I just want to be caught up in the crowd too. I don't want to be focused on and things like that. Not so much anymore. Those were the days when I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. All right. If our turn comes to speak at a meeting, we again try to carry AA's message. Whether our audience is one or many, it is still 12-step work. Okay. There's a little requirement there. Okay. We try to carry AA's message. God, stick with experience, strength, and hope. If all you do is talk about a problem, which you can do, that's not really experience, strength, and hope. Maybe it's the person that helped, maybe they're coming up with a topic, they're going, okay. So keep in mind what you're saying. The key is this, we're trying to get to the solution. And so when you share, you got to share your experience on the solution of how you did it. If you don't have one yet, it is okay to use other things. I've been around for a little bit and I see it happening in other people, and I can't wait for it to happen to me. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm currently doing. It's what my sponsor has me doing, so on and so on. Okay. Even just claiming your seat. There are many opportunities, even for those of us who feel unable to speak at meetings or who are so situated that we cannot do much face-to-face 12-step work. Now, no excuse on that anymore, is there? Welcome to Zoom. Welcome to the digital world. I help a lot of people online. It's where I help most of my people, right? So now we can do that. But let's see what else I had to say. We can be the ones who take the unspectacular but important tasks that make good 12-step work possible. Perhaps arranging for the coffee and cake after the meetings. Okay? We call that the parking lot meeting. Yeah. It used to be when you went to an AA meeting, there were donuts too. Doesn't really happen as much anymore. And usually it was just some member who grabbed them and brought them, So, but things got kind of weird with COVID. So, where so many skeptical, suspicious newcomers have found confidence and comfort in the laughter and talk. All right. So, the parking lot meeting is just as important, if not more important, than the actual meeting. This is where the 12th step work actually happens, before and after the meeting. Right? Because then everybody gathers up, they're having a good time, things like that. Doesn't quite work on Zoom. What I have found that when it comes to Zoom in the parking lot meeting, you probably shouldn't talk for more than 10 to 15 seconds if it's going to be a conversation, but one person starts and then 10 minutes later, and we're all like, okay, yeah, well, thanks. Right? There's a rhythm to it. Into the rhythm of the night. This is the step work in the very best sense of the word. Freely ye have received, freely give is the core of this part of step 12. Right? All right. All right. Page 112. Furthermore, how shall we come to terms with seeming failure or success? Can we now accept and adjust to either without despair or pride? Can we accept poverty, sickness, loneliness, and bereavement with courage and serenity? Can we steadfastly content ourselves with the humbler, yes, yet sometimes more durable satisfactions when the brighter, more glittering achievements are denied us? All right. Like the point of the grassroots meeting was so that Dion wasn't doing everything. I had to let a lot of it go. It's supposed to be done that way, right? But can we come to terms with seemingly failure or success? Fail often, and then learn from it. Then you got to learn from it. Who's coming down my steps? The AA answer to these questions about living is yes, all of these things are possible. We know this because we see monotony, pain, and even calamity turn to good use by those who keep on trying to practice. AA's 12 steps. And if these facts of life for many alcoholics who have recovered in AA, they can become the facts of life for many more. Yeah. Amber says parking lot in Night Owls is fucking lit sometimes. We're on there for hours. Yeah, I believe it. Absolutely. That's kind of the another difference between in person. You wouldn't be able to get away with that in person meeting, but with these online meetings, everybody's home. They're comfortable. They're already sitting in their recliner. They got their coffee. They got if they need to pee, they just need to turn off the camera or whatever and go do that. You know, it's like having an online barbecue together or something, right? So, of course, all AAs, even the best, fall short of such achievements as a consistent thing without necessarily taking that first drink. We often get quite far off the beam. Our troubles sometimes begin with indifference. I tell you now, indifference, indifference has the worst consequences. Non-action, no action is the worst consequence. When there's supposed to be action. Not everything needs action, right? But when we get, indifference means, um, oh, nobody's made coffee. Oh, somebody will get to it. It's a big book meeting. Nobody put out the big book yet. Somebody else will take care of it. I don't need to worry about it. That's what we're talking about. It's like when you're at home, don't pile more shit on the trash. Take the trash out, right? Don't leave it to other people. When you're walking down the street, there's trash out. Trash. Pick it up. Don't be indifferent about it. Okay. The thing is, if God put it in your purview and you do nothing, there's going to be a consequence for it. Okay, because small, big, or medium, large doesn't matter in this situation. But indifference. Okay. We are sober and happy in our AA work. Things go well at home and office. We naturally congratulate ourselves on what later proves to be a far too easy and superficial point of view. We temporarily cease to grow because we feel there is satisfaction leads to indifference. You hear me say it all the time. I am not satisfied. I will continue doing what I'm doing so I can do everything that I can to make sure that everybody in my community has a chance at sobriety. Will I achieve it? No. No, I won't. But it's what keeps me striving. I didn't really want to go do the 2 o'clock meeting. Met up with a guy there. He had to leave in the middle. We were supposed to exchange phone numbers, but good guy. If I wouldn't have shown up, he couldn't have had a meeting. And he was having a bad fucking day, man. He needed a meeting. There we go. That's all it is. All right. So we can't run around congratulating ourselves. There's nothing wrong with patting yourself on the back saying good job, but don't break your arm doing it. We temporarily cease to grow because we feel satisfied that there is no need for all of AA's 12 steps for us. We are doing fine on a few of them. Maybe we are doing fine on only 2 of them. The first step, and that part of the 12th step where we carry the message, in AA slang, that blissful state is known as 2-stepping, and it can go on for years. You ever go to a meeting and you hear somebody, they sound angry, but they say that they're happy? You ever seen somebody pound on the table about how grateful they are? Just look at me, I love it, I'm so grateful on it. And you don't buy it? Yeah, don't buy it because they're 2-stepping. I tell you now, not much of that happens in grassroots. You would have a very hard time 2-stepping in grassroots. Why? Because we don't say who here is willing to sponsor. We ask who here needs a sponsor. And there's more to it than you know. Even if we don't even know that that person has a sponsor or not, and they're 2-stepping, that guilt will eventually get to them, and then they will do what? Get a sponsor and work the rest of the steps. And isn't that what we want for them anyway? Right? See, there's more to it than just the right way, right? You'll see a lot of 2-stepping. And it can go on for 20, 30 years. Yeah. All right. The best intentioned of us can fall for the 2-stepping illusion. Sooner or later, the pink cloud stage wears off and things go disappointingly dull. We begin to think that AA doesn't pay off after all. We become puzzled and disillusioned or discouraged. Yeah. The pink cloud. And you can have more than one pink cloud. Pink clouds are things that are new. The newness is usually what it is. All right. So we're going to kind of go towards the end here. Here's a fun one. All right. I'm going to go to page 122 here real quick just because I like this part. Practically every boy in the United States dreams of becoming our president. I never did that. He wants to be this country's #1 man. As he gets older and sees the impossibility of this, he can smile good-naturedly at his childhood dreams. In later life, he finds that real happiness is not to be found in just trying to be the #1 man or even a first-rater in the heartbreaking struggle for money, romance, or self-importance. He learns that he can be content as long as he plays well with whatever cards life deals him. He's still ambitious, but not absurdly so, because he can now see and accept actual reality. He is willing to stay right-sized, but not so with alcoholics. When AA was quite young, a number of eminent psychologists and doctors made an exhaustive study of a good-sized group of so-called problem drinkers. The doctors weren't trying to find how different we were from one another. They sought They sought to find whatever personality traits, if any, this group of alcoholics had in common. They finally came up with a conclusion that shocked AA members of the time. All right. These distinguished men had the nerve to say that most alcoholics under investigation were still childish, emotionally sensitive, and grandiose. Now, this was back in 1940. So don't sit here and tell me that AA is antiquated, because it's still the same. Those are the same verdicts. Now, CU Anschutz here. They constantly put out these ads where they want to do trials on alcoholism. We already have the answers to these. They're going to get the same result. What do you need to know? Oh, we're different. Society has changed. But alcoholism is not. It still turns us into the same people. Just more proof, right? All right. But I'm going to go to page 124. We're going to finish off the chapter. But today, in well-matured AAs, these distorted drives have been restored to something like their true purpose and direction. We no longer strive to dominate or rule those about us in order to gain self-importance. We no longer seek fame and honor in order to be praised. When by devoted service to family, friends, business, or community, we attract widespread affection and sometimes singled out for posts of greater responsibility and trust. I go through that. I do a lot of stuff in the community, right? But here's the key. We try to be humbly grateful. And I am. I'm grateful that I'm even allowed to do it, right? And exert ourselves the more in the spirit of love and service. True leadership, we find, depends upon able example and not upon vain displays of power or glory. Now, you've been seeing that thing behind me. It says Club Trudge, right? That little thing that's above it, it says leadership by example. And that's where I stole it from, right there. True leadership is only by example. It can't be, otherwise you're just a boss. You're micromanaging. Even when I was a manager, I still did it by this, right? Okay. Still more wonderful is the feeling that we do not have to be specially distinguished among our fellows in order to be useful and profoundly happy. That. Now take a look at all the stuff that you see in social media, these RCOs, sober livings, treatments, recovery coaches who think that they are all done with that. Right? Or what they need is popularity. Right? Well, guess what? Sooner or later, all those people fade away. We call it 15 minutes of fame. All right. Not many of us can be leaders of prominence, nor do we wish to be. Service gladly rendered, obligations squarely met, troubles well accepted or solved with God's help. The knowledge that at home or in the world outside we are partners in a common effort. The well understood fact that in God's sight, all human beings are important. The proof that love freely given surely brings a full return. The certainty that we are no longer isolated and alone in self-constructed prisons. The surety that we need no longer be square pegs in round holes, but can fit and belong in God's scheme of things. These are the permanent and legitimate satisfactions of right living, for which no amount of pomp and circumstance, no heap of material possessions could possibly be substitutes. True ambition is not what we thought. True ambition is a deep desire to live usefully and walk humbly under God's grace, under the grace of God. All right. So ambition is not quite what we thought it was. When ambition turns into material objects, that's when we have a problem. There's some good examples out there. Keanu Reeves. Um, why can't I remember his name? The guy that does Happy Gilmore. Not a huge fan of his. Just haven't been. I'm not big into his comedy, but he's a cool dude. These people, like those two guys. If you ever see them walking around, they don't drive around all these nice cars and all this other shit. You don't see them wearing all this bling or expensive watches or even expensive clothes. They don't have the latest phone, right? Because they understand that true ambition is a deep desire to live usefully and walk humbly under the grace of God. They understand that. They understand that the only reason that they do have wealth is only because of the grace of God. It's the only reason. I figured somebody do it. Yeah, Adam Sandler. Yeah, they live very much below their means. And there it is. They're humble. These little studies of AA's 12 steps now come to a close. We have been considering so many problems that it may appear that AA consists mainly of racking dilemmas and troubleshooting. To a certain extent, that is true. We have been talking about problems because we are problem people who have found a way up and out and who wish to share our knowledge of that way with all who can use it. 4. It is only by accepting and solving our problems that we can begin to get right with ourselves and with the world about us and with Him who presides over us all. Understanding is the key to right principles and attitudes, and right action is the key to good living. Therefore, the joy of good living is the theme of AA's 12th step. With each passing day of our lives, every one of us sense more deeply the inner meaning of AA's simple prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I'll tell you this, the serenity prayer is going to mean more and more and more to you. By more, it'll mean more, you'll see more in it. In fact, if somebody could remind me, maybe tomorrow it's time to do a serenity prayer daily trudge again. There's a lot in just those 3 short sentences. There's a lot. Right? So God grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change. In the beginning, that's everything. But you do get to a point in your recovery where you can change things. You can at least try by educating, advocating. See, if I followed that to the letter, Grassroots wouldn't be around, Daily Trudge wouldn't be around, the podcasting wouldn't be around. No, none of it would be here if I didn't follow the serenity prayer. Because I can make a change. I can make a difference. Absolutely, I can. Now that I am a recovered alcoholic. Took a lot of work, but now I'm capable of doing that. Can I change other people? No. Can I help them see a different way? Absolutely, I can. Right? By being a good example. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. I love you. You know I do. Peace out.